Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down and another boys heavy edition of the Seaman Cinema Sit Down. You see the F Soups hat, you see the Daddy's Home t shirt, you know what we're talking about. So, why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat? We're getting ready to dive in spoiler free into The Boys, Season 2, Episode 3, Over the Hill with the Swords of a Thousand Men. Now, 2 weeks ago, when they dropped these first 3 episodes, this is the episode you would have been waiting for. After giving us pretty good stuff through the first 2 episodes and mostly just kind of building out what looks to be the season's story, and kind of just setting all your pieces up, you're setting them up for this episode on that initial drop of 3. This one goes big, man. We have spectacle, plenty more laughs, and a lot more oh my's, you know what I mean? And if you want to see all those from the Seaman, we'll check them right out right now.
You rate all women as either unknowable Hitchcock bitches or Michael Bay fuck dolls. I mean, I get that a lifetime of jerking off to Transformers didn't exactly make you popular with the ladies, but well, that would be nice.
Excuse me, but I do have 2 sisters. Thank you very much.
He likes touching your tips.
Look at what the kid just did.
Me and Starlight won.
You the fucking kid.
I was one.
That's all you got?
Oh man. Oh no. Oh. Alright, that's as far as the clip went. Oh my. Oh. Oh. Oh no.
You're diabolical. Where's Huey?
No. His heart is still beating. Oh no. Oh. 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 Oh, Stormfront showing off. Oh. Whoa. Oh. Oh man, she just killed them all. Well, she ain't just a bitch, man. She's like Homelander. Oh my. What? Dude, her power set's crazy strong. Uh-oh. Oh, no, 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 no. No. Oh, come on, baby bro. Oh. Jeez, man. Oh.
Your magic little hand thingy anymore? How come?
Oh my god. That was brutal. Oh man, as you can see, plenty of laughs to be had in this episode, much like every episode we've had thus far, but also some real gruesome moments. Getting to see what happens after the boys drive the boat through the whale, obviously, which was the clip that we got at Comic-Con. Oh man, the so many props need to be given to you know the set design people to build an actual whale that not only just on the surface looks like a whale and like moves, but like you also had to build out the inside of it, because we saw the boat in that clip go right through the whale and come out the other side, which means all of our guys are inside that whale, and it is grisly, man, and it is like a fully functioning whale, or at least that's what it looks like even from the inside. So plenty of oh my moments this week. And, speaking of the whale, that's where we start, man. Well, almost. But we start with the boys. They're already on a boat trying to get, our super terrorist from the last episode to the CIA. And I tell you, the boys they're in a really, really interesting spot right now. This episode focuses a lot on Huey. It doesn't go super deep per se, but we physically just see a man crumbling. And this is an episode where something really big on the positive side happens. One of those things that Huey's been working towards with Starlight kind of has a little bit of a resolution or the start of consequences for what they've done have kind of started to be seen, and that's a lot to get excited about, I think, if you're Huey and the boys, and you get to see a little bit of that. But that line in the sand between Huey and Butcher is just, it's a concrete line. It seems like almost at this point, like Huey just wants nothing to do with Butcher, and in comparison, Butcher is certainly acting like he doesn't care that Huey is done with him, sort of, and is thus just not showing any signs of caring about anything other than what his own personal goals are. And that's driving a massive wedge in between those two, but also, within the group. I mean, we've already had, last episode we had a moment where everyone was like, it's either this or this, and you have Butcher on one side and Huey on the other side. And again, in this episode, we kind of get a Butcher's over here, Huey's over here bit. And, it's one of those where it's like, you get the conflict for everybody, right? I mean, like Frenchie and Mother's Milk, they've been riding with Butcher for a long time. I mean, Frenchie called Butcher to come back. But you also can't do anything to hurt, the integrity of the team with their new characters when you're looking at Kimiko and Huey. And, it's interesting to kind of see how all of that is playing out. But all of it is just weighing massive on Huey. I mean, physically, you just see him, since episode 1, just slowly kind of imploding. And even this one really bright spot kind of a moment isn't enough to entirely pull him out of it, because after you get something like that, you drive through a whale and you're right back to covered in blood, although this time everybody's covered in blood, but like right back to all the same BS that you've put up with, when dealing with Butcher in the past. And it just seems like Huey can't take it. And I'm just so impressed with Jack Quaid. I mean, he's been absolutely tremendous this season when he's been on screen, and just like what they're asking him to do, like he is full in. I mean, he gets like 2 moments in this episode specifically where you kind of get like choked up because of what's going on with him, both like with the boys, with Starlight, there's just like a lot of things going on. And at the center of all of that, you kind of have Frenchie trying to figure out what to do with Kimiko and the super terrorist that they have on board. And you have Mother's Milk, who's trying to basically keep everything together, man. Like he is the one person who is for sure looking out for Huey, like, and because he knows how important Huey is to Butcher. Like he mentions, but that's your canary. Like if you lose your canary, who's gonna check you to make sure you haven't crossed any kind of a line? And that dynamic within the team is really in a lot of turmoil, specifically by the time we get to the end of the episode. I mean, after they drive through that whale, what happens to the group? you're kind of at an almost breaking point, and you kind of see Butcher swing one way, to maybe help bring things back all together for this group. But right after that moment happens, you kind of have Kimiko taken off, and you get a little kind of side story with her, and just some wild stuff that kind of leaves her in a position of like, oh man, where do you go if you're this character now? So with every positive that comes with the boys, there's like 3-4 negatives following super close behind them. And overall, like I said, I'm interested in this story and what's just going on with this group in particular. And then, like we've gotten through the first 3 episodes, you have the complete opposite side of things, where we kind of get a little bit more of a look into the deep, where he's kind of starting to follow along with this group that I can't think of the Archer guy's name. He's so forgettable. But like him and the woman that have kind of tried to help the deep, it seems like they're having a lot of influence on, him, and with things that are going on with the boys, some of that kind of catches up to them and on television, which is how the Deep knows to go there. Like he sees this as his moment to return to the 7. And you get that whole sequence with the whale that we saw at Comic-Con. And on the backside of that, it seems like a guy who is trying to be like, oh shoot, there's Starlight. Like, I know what I did was unforgivable, but hopefully one day you'll let me back in. She's just like, F you, bro. Like, that's never gonna change. And obviously, like, the Deep has relationships with, Black Noir and Homelander, and Queen Maeve and a couple of the others, that are in there. But, like, that's gonna be a line that's gonna be real hard for him to cross back over into, to the point where it's like Homelander kind of is like, hey, man, well, you gotta just take some time still. And it's almost more of like a delay. Like, I don't know if there's any way for the Deep to get back into the 7, but he is certainly trying. And he's also another one, much like Huey, just mixed up with so many different emotions. I mean, you kind of see him crumble at the death of the whale. And I, again, have just been very, very impressed with Chance Crawford. They've asked him to do a lot of different things this season so far, and the swings and emotions that he can kind of carry and where he's taking the character. He's another one. Like, if there are 2 people that are standing out to me as far as acting goes, that isn't Aya Cash, who I think has popped more than anybody on the show all season, and we'll talk about her in a minute. But Huey and Huey and the Deep, Jack Quaid and Chance Crawford, are absolutely crushing it this season. And they've only been given a little bit. Like, the bigger pieces of the episodes, either involve the groups or kind of focused more on, what's going on with Butcher and what's going on with Homelander from like a bigger perspective, while you're kind of jumping all over. But they haven't been given a ton, but what they have been given, really, really good stuff. Now, obviously, there's that, you can't blame Starlight for how she feels with the Deep, but she, again, is another character who is at odds with a lot of the people that are inside the 7. I mean, obviously, her and Homelander still not okay, and because of that, Homelander kind of pushes her in this episode to try to do something that she doesn't want to do, but she doesn't have a choice if she's going to survive herself. And again, it's one of those things where, specifically with that relationship, there's a real scary side of, like, if you don't play ball, like, I will laser you clean in half. So like, that stuff is really interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see how Starlight juggles, because given the first opportunity of that type of a situation, she kind of almost crumbles and bends to Homelander's will. And it's just because of the tight spot that she's in. Then, you also have her and A-Train still playing chess, man. Like, there is a real strategic game going on with these 2, and every time one of the 2 tries to get the upper hand, the other one is like, well, I got this, and then I got this, and it continues to just kind of be fun to see how they play it out. And when you're talking about A-Train, outside of just what's going on with him and Starlight, he is also going through some stuff. And, this time we get to see him being fast more often, and whether he's being fast or just even like the swing, like going from a real dark place to a very light place, it's having drastic physical impacts on him, from both like his heart and his head. Like his equilibrium definitely seems off, and he's trying to push through it, and I don't know how that's gonna play for him. He's at a very, again, interesting place, and I look forward to seeing more with what goes on with A-Train. Now, my favorite character from this season has far and away been Stormfront. Aya Cash has been an absolute spark plug this season, and no different here, man. I mean, like, we get to kind of see some more inside of like what goes on around the Seven. Like, they have replaced celebrities basically, so you have someone's trying to do their origin story movie, and you kind of get to see a pitch, which is hysterical and like totally does put you kind of like in the room of like what people try to do when they're pitching films. And this is one that you're not even pitching the movie. Like, Homelander loves this script. He's totally in on like the dawn of the Seven. But this is like kind of like the pitch for what the trailer is gonna be. And what's fun is, Stormfront not involved in any of this stuff, right? She wasn't an original member of the Seven. She's just coming into the fold, and she goes through this script, looks at this like pitch for a trailer, and goes, "Look, I see some really great things, but there are some massive issues with how you're portraying the female characters." And when you hear that Homelander loves this script, not really shocking that that's the way it goes. And I just love the fact that Aya Cash is just like, I am gonna call BS on everybody, especially when it comes to like the representation or how people are being portrayed, right? Like, on the one side, you have marketing trying to push all the women up to the forefront right now, because we've never had 3 women in the Seven, and we had that red carpet event thing, last episode, and you see, like, from one side of things, it's like we're trying to push that representation, but on the other side of things, we got a movie coming out. Oh, we're pulling that representation back, and Stormfront's not having it, and Stormfront just ain't having a lot of things, man. I mean, she doesn't really give a damn about Homelander. There is a situation where the team kind of has a goal, and Homelander wants to be the guy that is the person who stands at the podium at the end of it going, "Look at me, look at all the great things I did." And Stormfront does not care about that. And personally, I'm quite happy that she doesn't care about it, because we get a sequence where we get to see Stormfront just go off. And like, even with all the stuff that they showed us, I still don't feel like we've seen like Stormfront at her peak. But she might be the only soup that is as strong, if not stronger, than Homelander. I'm kind of hoping we get a Homelander Stormfront battle at some point, because good gosh, like, if you just think purple lightning and what we've seen in other movies with lightning type abilities is what Stormfront is, you're wrong. She is crazy powerful and has way more control over what she is able to do with that lightning stuff, and it pops big time in the episode. That stretch sequence is just wonderful to watch, and provides plenty of those moments that you saw where I was like, oh my god, like every one of those outside of the entering the whale pretty much belong to Stormfront in this episode, and she is fantastic. And I guess the one other like pop moment that's not her has to do with that super terrorist that we have that they're all chasing. He has a bit between him and Homelander where you're just like, oh, okay, like, all right, I want to see where this goes. And then you do get to see where it goes. And I'm just loving, like I said, the energy that Aya Cash is bringing and where she is squaring off with people, whether it's against Homelander, against the marketing, or the way that like people who are running the Seven are doing things. And we get a little bit more of an inside look as to exactly the kind of hero Stormfront is. We saw her last episode kind of talk about how like you can be a bitch and still be a hero, but she might be maybe a little bit closer to the super villain, anti-hero land. but she's so much fun on screen. For me, she's the big win in this episode. I just really, really, really enjoyed watching all the things that she had going on. And then obviously the leader of the seven, Homelander, he's got some interesting things going on. Coming out of episode 2, I kind of mentioned where it's like it looked kind of like he was trying to be a dad, but maybe for his own purposes. This episode kind of has me swinging the other way, where I'm like, maybe he really just does want a family, and he talks about family inside the episode, in multiple different ways. But you kind of get this feeling of like, maybe Homelander isn't like as flat out like I'm trying to do all these diabolical things. Like maybe he does genuinely want a family, and maybe he does genuinely care about having a family. And whether that's a family, with his own offspring, or a family like the team of people that he has. You kind of see a little bit of a different side of Homelander, and with that kind of butting heads that's going on with Stormfront, you see a much more vulnerable Homelander in this episode. And Anthony Starr, really, really just, again, someone else who continues to just crush. Everybody in this show crushes on the acting scale. And we're starting to see, more people pop up from, some of these shows. I just saw that he got cast, I think, in a movie that's coming up. And I'm like, yes, man. Like, Cash just got a Shudder thing. Anthony Starr's popping up and stuff. Like, yes, keep grabbing these people and put them in more things. I know Jack Quaid's got some stuff coming up. Like, it's fun seeing all these folks from this show starting to kind of blow up and spread their wings outside. And because they're becoming household names to a degree for anyone who's watching, I think it's exciting to just kind of be like, look at all of these people, all this talent that's on this show, and now we're getting to see kind of what they do elsewhere. But 3 episodes in, man, I'm like, what more could you ask for? What they are building and setting up just looks like it could be some really epic stuff. So, episode 3, the longest of all of the titles, Over the Hill with the Swords of 1,000 Men. A lot of fun to be had in this episode, man. And we finally got some big set piece stuff with some of our soups and just things that are going on with the boys and the 7. I'm digging it. I cannot wait to dive into episode 4, but that's all I got to say about episode 3, man. Easily my favorite of the first 3 episodes that would have dropped on that Friday. And knowing that they dropped 3 episodes at once, it makes sense when you look at those 3 bundled. Kind of the building, almost like a 3-hour movie to a degree, where it's like, we're gonna give you some stuff up in that first act, we're gonna build out some story in that second act, and that story is gonna overflow into that third act and deliver all the big things you want. I'm totally, you know me, I'm in the bag for these already, but I am in based off of what I have seen through 3 episodes. And I can't wait to get to episode 4. So now, it's your turn, man. I want to know everything you're thinking about The Boys, specifically episode 3, Over the Hill with the Swords of 1,000 Men. Which characters are your favorite? Who's popping the most? What soups or superpowers are you getting this year that you really, really dig compared to other, seasons or with the new characters and some of the old characters? Anything you're thinking there, anything you're thinking about the story, where the boys stand and kind of how they're fractured and trying to hold it together, as are the 7. Anything you're thinking with anything going on The Boys, down below in the comments section. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to join the C-Maniacs, man, as we watch The Boys throughout the entire season, and you haven't, jump over there, hit that little subscribe button. You can come join the squad, show a little love, and if you want those alerts, hit the bell that follows that. And until next time, for the C-Man Cinema Sit Down, I'm C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace. Well, you guys are still here. You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry, C-Man's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the C-Man goodies, join the Cinema Sit Down squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.